Hey, good morning, Plant Talk. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes today before I started all my planty chores answering a couple questions, a few questions actually, that I've gotten not just on Plant Talk, but in some of the other forums that I go myself for planty advice and looking for plants and things like that. Lots of people have figured out that I have a pretty extensive collection, that I import a lot of plants, and that in general I'm pretty successful. I don't have 100% success, but I'm probably in the range of 97-98% success rate. That doesn't mean that I don't lose leaves. That doesn't mean that I don't have to rehab plants. It just means that after a relatively short period of time, maybe a month or two, you really can't tell that the plant has been imported or that it has been damaged or that it has somehow suffered. In other words, I get mature leaf size back. I'm able to cut off any other dead or dying leaves because there's enough new growth to where the plant isn't bald. And so I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the various substrates that I use. I use the same ones that everybody else does. It's just, I think the way I use them, which is pretty unconventional. There is a rhyme and reason to it, but it's something that I've kind of developed over time and over the years, and it's fairly intuitive. And so hopefully by me sharing what I look for in plants and what makes me choose a particular substrate will help you do the same thing. So with that, let me kind of show you what I use in general. And then I'm going to use some specific examples out of my own collection right now, plants that I am rehabbing, and what I'm going to actually put them in as substrate when I'm ready to take them out of their current water propagations. Hope this is helpful for everyone. Okay, so this is basically all of the substrate that I use with my plants. In order here, we have horticultural charcoal, we have lechuza pond, we have fluval stratum, which is an aquarium soil, we have perlite, just the regular size, sphagnum moss, leca, number 4 coarse perlite, and then an aroid mix, which is generally just a mix of any of these things depending on the plant. I do, as you can see, have a tendency to prefer putting coarse perlite into my coco coir. I don't have the coco coir listed in here because frankly I have it in a gigantic tub, and so you'll just have to know that that's coco coir and horticultural charcoal and number 4 perlite in that mix. Now here's where it starts to get interesting. These are the basic substrates here. Now this is just horticultural charcoal. I just put this out here for demonstration purposes so you would be able to see. It's basically just biochar. It's just wood that they have fired and without any kind of chemicals or anything, so it makes it safe. This is our fluval stratum. Fluval stratum is basically volcanic soil from Mount Azo in Japan. They basically harvest it and then put it through some sort of process where it turns it into these tiny little lightweight pellets. Because it is little bitty grains of soil, basically, they can be crushed. Okay, so you can crush them. And because of this, you don't want this to be a long-term soil solution because it can literally, after a while, it will break down and it turns into almost like a clay type of substance. So it's super, super nutrient rich, which is great for starting new roots in plants that have been damaged or are very tiny, like maybe corms that you're trying to grow or tissue culture transplants that you're trying to get to root. Stratum is the way to go. This is what I use when I need to get a plant to grow roots, either because the roots have fallen off, rotted off, or it just hasn't ever made any roots because it's a baby. This is pond, lechuza pond. Lechuza pond is actually rock. It is in particular, it is pumice, lava rock, and just so you know, pumice is lava rock. It's just a more lightweight lava rock full of air holes. So it's really good for basically wicking up water, kind of like the leca. But pond is heavier. So it's more like pea gravel. If you've ever seen pea gravel in your garden, it's similar to pea gravel, but it's it's a lot smaller than leca, but it still has a lot of surface area And so what I use this for is once the plants have kind of graduated from stratum, they've got decent roots that are a little bit bigger, a little bit more mature, I will put them in the pond, which again is basically lava rock, pumice, zeolite, and fertilizer. So there's already fertilizer in here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's basically like a long-term, like an Osmocote. There's little round balls of fertilizer in here. Makes it really nice because you don't have to necessarily use nutrient water. You can use nutrient water. There's one right there. You can use nutrient water, but you don't have to. So in other words, this can decrease the amount of times you have to mix up fertilizer and all that. So if you're in a rush, you just need to water your plants and get going, pond is a great way of doing things. Okay, next I want to talk about this number 4 perlite. I generally get this from Mother Earth in a big 50-liter bag. It's a little pricey in the sense that it's probably going to be about $50 or $60 to get the big bag, but it is a huge bag and it lasts forever because it is a big size. I do prefer this number 4 perlite to make my aeroid mix. My aeroid mix basically consists of cocoa husk, the number 4 perlite, and the horticultural charcoal. This gives some nice carbon base for your plant while still maintaining airspace because this perlite kind of keeps everything light and airy. The cocoa core obviously provides some of the moisture retention, and so it allows most aeroids to be pretty happy in this sort of mix. And then finally we have LECA, lightweight expanded clay aggregate. Okay, there's 2 different brands in here and it doesn't really matter which one you use. What you're looking for is the fact that LECA has a lot of surface area because the process of making this clay ball, this lightweight clay ball, is basically, it gets it to expand and make a lot of air pockets. These air pockets increase the surface area of each little LECA ball, and each one of those creates a surface that allows water to wick up and then touch the next LECA ball, and then the next LECA ball, and then the next LECA ball. And so you have a wicking, a capillary action of your water reservoir. So you can have your water reservoir down here and it wicks up the LECA, and then the roots of the plants will go down to seek the water rather than be sitting in it. LECA is what I use for large mature plants that have good healthy roots, because if you put a plant that has weak roots or small roots, like tiny little roots, they'll get lost in these air spaces. They'll dry out. Now, the exception of that, and Trey from LECA Magic may be able to expand a little bit better on this, but if you start a plant in LECA, say you put a corm in here or a little bitty plant that already has some roots, you can often get that plant to grow up to mature size in LECA. I personally don't do it that way. I prefer to go stepwise by going stratum, then pond, then LECA, and then once it's in LECA, if it seems to do well in LECA, well then dang it, I'll leave it in there, because nutrient water once a month is a whole lot easier than watering aeroid mix every week. Okay, so it's all about simplicity for me. With as many plants as I have, I want to have as many of them in a self-watering or a drainless system as possible, so that I can minimize my plant chores and watering schedule. So I was going to try to go ahead and give you examples of plants that I will be moving into these various substrates here today, but I think I'll save that for a second video, and I'll record that after this one, and you can look for it on my page. Hope this helped, and good luck with your plants and your substrate choices.